What's up guys, my name is Tom, welcome back to another video, and today we're back to another episode of my F1 2010 My Team Career Mode. Today it's time for episode 40, round 2 in season 3. If you guys haven't watched the previous episode, the first race of the season at the Bahrain Grand Prix, I'll highly recommend to go check it out. But today we're going to focus at the Chinese Grand Prix, and hopefully we're going to have a huge aero and chassis package for today's Chinese Grand Prix. So hopefully these upgrades are going to be ready and they're going to really come in handy. So we're skipping the time forward, and you can see the chassis ones are ready for this Grand Prix, so that's definitely great to hear as well for the aero. So we're going to have a huge boost when it comes to performance. But before jumping onto the track, we have some things to do. I'm going to buy another upgrade to our headquarters, more than one. You can see that I brought one to our simulator that is going to improve George's experience because he's kind of new, so we need to improve his experience. And we're going to buy each one for the fabrication, for the engine department, the chassis and the aerodynamics. So you can see that we're investing really hardly on our HQ, and you can see that we have plenty of cash, so that's the reason that I'm buying a lot of upgrades, which is not very common to see in this My Team Career Mode, if I'm honest. But before jumping onto track into Shanghai, we have an invitational event at Spa with the 2003 Williams. By the way, recently I made a video where I showcased the 2003 season mod for F1 2020, so make sure to check that one out. But today we're back to the vanilla classic cars, and it is an overtaking challenge. Anyway, I know that you guys love the classic cars in this channel, and I love as well, so I'm gonna let you guys hear the beautiful V10 sound of the 2003 BMW Williams. They have a challenge pass, and you can see that that last overtake was kind of sweaty. I almost lost the control of the car, but anyway, the most important is that we accomplished the challenge. 150k of cash into our bank account. And before jumping on to Shanghai, you can see that we're doing a lot of things today. Before hitting into the practice session, I'm going to buy a major chassis upgrade for the brakes, and because we had plenty of resource points before jumping onto the garage. But here we are, finally 3 minutes, almost 4 into the video, we're finally getting into the real business. It seems that we're going to have some rain in qualifying in the later stage, but it should get drier just in the end. But the race is going to be full dry with some clouds, but the weather is not going to get in the way. But performance chart, you can see that we have a huge upgrade, a huge leap, and we're getting closer and closer to Mercedes, then followed by Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, and then Aston Martin, and then so on as the screen fade away to practice session. Let me tell you that the car has been feeling pretty nicely, but I'm not feeling quite comfortable enough to put this car into the first place. But I think it's definitely a step forward comparing to the Bahrain Grand Prix. And talking about upgrades, let me tell you that the upgrades are feeling very nicely, because definitely you feel a lot difference when you bring these very big upgrades. But anyway, end of the first practice, and you can see George Russell going third fastest, so we put a great performance in the last episode. The race pace wasn't that good, but in qualifying qualifying he almost took pole position. Will he do that today? Will he take Tom Motorsport's first pole position, or will I take or maybe it's going to be me, you know, taking the first Tom Motorsport pole position? Would be nice to be me because I'm the team owner, but end of practice 2 we went full fastest, and yeah, we'll see what we can do. I think if I'm honest, the pace of the Monster Mercedes is still a little bit too strong comparing to our car, so I think it's going to be just a question of few races until we start to challenge the silver arrows. But I think it shouldn't take that much time considering that the upgrades that we are putting into the car. Talking about upgrades, we're going to do once again another one for the engine, for the ERS, and it should be ready I think in 2 episodes time if I'm not wrong. And I think when it comes to the energy recovering system, I think we have all the upgrades done and dusted for this career mode. But here we are in qualifying. It's time for qualifying, and we'll see what we can do in this Tom Motorsport car. Now the real business starts now as we're going through the snail session. This long first corner, one of the PlayStation Williams is getting into the way. Around the outside we go. I think is Nick de Vries. This is really costing me a lot of time. He's not getting it out of the way, please, thank you. And he's still going at it, but that was a little bit stressful as I'm trying to put the best lap as I can. So we'll see where this is going to put us. It wasn't that much of a good lap. Open the DRS and the cross line. For the time being, we are behind Charles Leclerc and Pierre Gasly, only ahead of Nick de Vries and Sergio Perez. But the Aston Martins have been looking, you know, not really in the pace. At the moment, they didn't score any points. George Russell sets provisional pole position for the time being, and we are down into P13. So definitely is a red flag for us at the moment, because we need to put a very good lap if we want to get any chance to challenge our teammates and maybe take pole position, because at the moment he's in provisional pole position. And let me tell you that I'm already a little bit worried, because in this second lap we are just gaining 0.2 of a second, almost 3, as we are getting ready to the biggest straight of the circuit. It's very important to have a very good exit. Make sure to hit the throttle as early as you can, and we're gaining 0.3 of a second. But I think this is not enough to challenge our teammate. It will depend how close you know, the field is as we open the DRS. So we'll see the speed of this on the power. 343, I want to say, kilometers per hour, and make sure to hit the 100 brake mark as late as you can. And you can see we went a little bit deep into the hairpin, so definitely it's not going to make things very easy for us. We lost 1/10 of a second, and now through the final corner we lost a little bit more time. What this is going to mean for the time being, it is just P11. And this is not really looking good for us, like it was in the Bahrain Grand Prix last episode. The qualifying struggles are continuing, and there you have it, George Russell followed by Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. So it seems that it's looking good for Russell to take his first pole position in Formula 1 and for Tom Motorsport, as I'm trying to put another lap, but unfortunately the rain is falling down, and now the track is starting to get slower and slower, and there's no way that we're going to improve that. And at the end of the day, it will mean just P11, almost 1 second of the pole sitter, which is George Russell, that takes Tom Motorsport's first pole position. But it's an absolute disaster for us. At least we're going to have a free choice of tyre. But yeah, definitely it wasn't a very good day for us. Once again, struggling on qualifying. But hopefully, like it was in the Bahrain Grand Prix, we can pull something through in the race. But George Russell, if you want to convert that pole to his first race win, is not going to be really easy, because he'll have the 2 Monster Mercedes behind him, and in the last race he struggled for race pace. Hopefully it's not going to be the case today. We're going to find out if he has a good race pace in these next few minutes. So without further ado, let's go to Sunday for the Chinese Grand Prix.
It's time to find out which driver is up to the task of claiming the Chinese Grand Prix. We're here in Shanghai. Shanghai International Circuit then, a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests a driver's patience, and the flat, open to the elements location, tests their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and overtaking is available into turn 1, and of course down the kilometre-long back straight into the hairpin at turn 14. And with me, as usual, is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about Thomas. No grid penalties, no mitigating circumstances, just a poor qualifying performance and a very disappointing start position for them today.
It's not a nice feeling, I promise you. They've got a quick car underneath them, but they've got onto the grid today and they need a pair of binoculars to see the start lights. They'll be desperate for a good start to make up for some of that deficit.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. George Russell will begin today's event from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Bottas, Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, and Leclerc, Albon, Ricciardo, Gasly, and Sebastian Vettel, Thomas, Kvyat, Esteban Ocon, and Matsushita, Stroll, Norris, Kevin Magnussen, and Sergio Perez, Giovinazzi, Giotto, Latifi, and Nick de Vries. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
After the points finish last race, let's aim to keep the momentum going.
Thanks Jeffrey, and welcome guys to the Chinese Grand Prix. It seems that's going to be a one-stop starting on the mediums and then switch to the hards. Hopefully it's going to be a great race for us. Maybe we can pull something through when it comes to the strategy. It wasn't a strategic masterstroke, let me tell you, in the Bahrain Grand Prix. But strategy-wise for the other guys, it seems that it's a 50-50 when it comes to the starting tire. The top 10 is going to start on the softs, the rest of the field is going to start on the mediums, and I'm going to be the first one starting on the mediums. So hopefully it's going to mean a good sign for us. But 5 red lights for the Chinese Grand Prix. Tom Motorsport on pole position, and it slides out, and away we go. Let's see if we can get a good start against Sebastian Vettel. He gets a good start. He's on the softer comparative tire, but we'll see what he can do as we're going very gingerly, very carefully into the first corner. A little bit on the threat from the Porsche of Daniel Kvyat. Now going around the outside of the other Porsche of Pierre Gasly, and George Russell is on the threat from Lewis Hamilton. The two are going side by side. We're going side by side with another car. Is of Sebastian Vettel in the classy Ferrari, and the side by side we go, but he gets a good runner around the outside, and we have to stick behind. Maybe not, because we're going to send one down inside, almost hitting the back of one of the Alpines. I think that was Daniel Ricciardo, but down inside we went off Sebastian Vettel. I think Bottas under pressure and from one of the Red Bulls, and Hamilton takes the lead of the Grand Prix, so he's not anymore George Russell in the lead of this Grand Prix. Hamilton now is going to try to get away with this one after a great start of the season, and we are trying and trying, already up into P10, so basically we just gained one place, so it's not that surprising. But Bottas remains ahead of the Red Bull of Max Verstappen as we have some squabbling. Charles Leclerc trying to go around the side of Carlos Sainz, and we're trying to get a look on Daniel Ricciardo. You can see that he's a little bit slow thanks to the DTS. Sooner rather than later, soft tires are going to start to get slower and slower as I have a huge tank slapper through the long right hand. I was trying to best the best exit as I kind of be getting the slipstream of Daniel Ricciardo, gaining and gaining on the Alpine. We're going to try to go around inside because he is going defense. Who's going to be the bravest on the brakes? He's going to be at the same time, and Ricciardo convinces defense on an overtaking attempt in the Porsche of Pierre Gasly, but he can't make that move. But that was fantastic stuff from the Honey Badger as we're going through the final corner and up into P10 we are. So in terms of strategy, I don't know if the guys on the softs are going to stick with the two-stop strategy, because at this track when you start on the softs you're going to be almost forced to do the two-stop. But you could see that in the Bahrain Grand Prix we had the case where the people started on the softs, but despite that they managed to make the one-stop work thanks to the tire wear upgrades already in Season 3. But look at the start of Lewis Hamilton. He had a very good getaway, and it was enough to put alongside George Russell. Russell didn't have that much of a good start, and they're still going side by side. We'll see. I think Hamilton is going to get this one around the outside, if I am not wrong. And look how fast the Mercedes is on the corner exit. This is why we need to invest a lot in the engine. I think in terms of top speed we are better than the Mercedes, but I think in terms of acceleration I think we're still lacking a little bit. So we'll see what we can do. Lap 2, we're still behind Daniel Ricciardo. I'm waiting for the next lap when the DRS gets deployed. It's starting to drop a little bit behind Pierre Gasly, so that can make things easier for us because he might not have the DRS available to him, as I have a little bit of an oversteer moment through the final corner. I'm trying to push and push, but I need to remember myself that I need to nurse these mediums because we're going longer in this race. But anyway, it's time, but we're going to have the DRS. Will Ricciardo have the DRS? No, he will not, and we're gaining and gaining rich mix. Overtake move, actually not the playing overtake move. Are we going to dare time down inside? But Ricciardo moves at the braking. Oh no, we lost a bit of our front wing. This is disaster, as I lost a little bit the back end, but we lost a huge chunk of our front wing. Ricciardo, what the hell was that? You moved on the braking. Oh, I can't believe we're going to be forced to pit. Our race is ruined. If we want to get any chance maybe to get a top 5 or maybe finishing on the podium, are pretty much over. The only chance that we have now is maybe with a miraculous safety car. But oh, what the hell was that, Daniel Ricciardo? He moved on the braking like Verstappen in 2016, if you remember. Oh boy, are you kidding? George Russell on the podium, almost getting close to get his first race win, and here we are changing our front wing, and we are dead last, P22 out of the 22 current runners in this Grand Prix. I can't believe that this is happening. We're going to do the 2-stop. Here's the strategy. We're going to set a brand new set of mediums, and then we're going to switch to soft. So we're going longer. We're going to do plus 20 seconds in this race, and you can see that Ricardo moved a little bit on the braking, and I didn't move that much the steering. Maybe I could avoid it, you know, that, but you know, these things happen so fast that you don't have time to react, and you can see that. Oh, are you kidding? I hope that Ricardo is going to have a penalty for that, because that was really dirty. Oh. And now we're going to watch a PV, and you can see that I didn't move that much the steering wheel. When I started to move, it was you know, to take the evasive action, like it's an instinct. But anyway, I'm gutted. Hopefully we're going to have a safety car, and hopefully that can save our race. But anyway, this is side by side between the two Haas McDonald's cars. At the moment they are ahead of us, and they are putting a bit of a show. Lando Norris and Kevin Magnussen going at it, and with the privilege we have the Aston Martin of Sergio Perez. So once again, the Aston Martins are struggling a lot in this season after finishing in second place in the constructor standings, and yeah, that has been a very disappointing start of the season for the lime green cars. But anyway, that was a brilliant scrap between Magnussen and Lando Norris, the two Haas McDonald's cars. But anyway, we are pushing and pushing as we receive an extreme track limits warning, and we're setting personal best because we are on clear. As the race leaders are pitting, we have Lewis Hamilton and George Russell pitting, so we'll see the strategies of these guys. So Hamilton is going to switch to the hard, so definitely he is on the 1-stop. What about Max Verstappen? He's going to fit, I couldn't see the color of those tires. What about our teammate George Russell? He's going to fit the harder comparative tire as well. So definitely these guys are going with a 1-stop. So definitely the only chance that we have now to make this 2-stop work is maybe with a safety car, if we want to get a solid finish at the end of this Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz getting a little bit held up into the pits as Daniel Ricciardo pulls in. So once again, Ricciardo ruining someone's race, and he's fitting the hard tire. Not the case for Pierre Gasly on the Porsche. He's fitting another set of soft tires, so that is a very risky strategy for Pierre Gasly. That scored Porsche's first podium in the modern era, in their first race of the modern era at the Bahrain Grand Prix. But maybe with the 2-stop is not going to be the case. It's going to be really hard to perform the 2-stop if most of the field is performing the 1-stop. But anyway, never say never in Formula 1. Who knows, maybe, like I said, we can have a safety car that can save our race. But anyway, we have ahead of us Sebastian Vettel, and this is the time that the race leaders need to start to manage the traffic, as we are side by side between the two Alfa Romeo Velocis. Down inside goes Luca Chiotto on Antonio Giovinazzi, and Hamilton is trying to go around inside of both Alfa Romeos. This is brilliant stuff by the Brit, which makes the move work, and Chiotto makes the move on Antonio Giovinazzi. So definitely Gio is the biggest loser, and George Russell unfortunately is losing a lot of time with the Alfa Romeo Velocis, and he's going to try to make the move ASAP. No sign of Valtteri Bottas at the moment. You can see, I think he's leaving the pits, and I think he's going to get ahead of George Russell. So it's a 1-2 for Monster Mercedes, but unfortunately George Russell is demoted into third place, as he is still behind Luca Chiotto, I should say. So things are not looking really good for George, and look how much the gap Hamilton already has. You look how much he stretched that distance over his teammate and Russell, but Russell now sends one running outside. It should be easy. Come on, George, he's an Alfa Romeo. He's on the holder tires. He's a slower car. Come on, mate. Come on, he's still going at it. Down inside he goes, and finally, but you can see how much far up the road Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton are, and Hamilton seems to be managing very well the traffic because he's finding it at the right time, at the right spot, and which is the biggest straight of the circuit. He managed to overtake the Haas pretty easily. I think that was Kevin Magnussen. What about us? We skip all the way forward onto lap 9. We're getting closer and closer to Sebastian Vettel, which is on the harder comparative tire. Remember that there are still some guys that need to make the stops, the light of the Williams, the Haases, and the Alfa Romeos, as now we're getting a very nice slipstream of Sebastian Vettel. He's getting a good one of Daniel Ricciardo, and he sends one down inside. Who's going to be the biggest winner? See a gap, I'm going to send one, and we're going to make a double overtake on Sebastian Vettel and Tanner Ricciardo. Ricciardo is the biggest loser because he lost 2 positions in the space of 1 corner, so suck it, Ricciardo. But remember that these guys do not have to stop once again, and we have to. So in order to stay ahead of these guys, once we make our stops, we need to make a 20-second gap or something, which is going to be really hard to perform unless these guys maybe have a problem or squabble a lot. So we'll see what's going to happen in these next few laps. But anyway, getting closer to the Williams PlayStation of Nicholas Latifi. Now it's going to be a drag race on the Power versus Mercedes Power. Open the DRS, we're going to have that advantage, and that is a pretty easy move on the Canadian, and that's us up into P19. Ahead of us now we have the guys that were ahead of us in the first stint before that front wing loss, and they already dispatched the other Williams PlayStation, this time of Nick de Vries. So hopefully we can overtake the Williams, and well, let's see if we can squabble these guys, which is not going to mean that much because they don't have to pit, with the exception of Pierre Gasly. I forgot that he's on the softer comparator. So once again, that is a very weird strategy call from Porsche. Maybe they can work, I don't know, maybe they have something up their sleeve, but you can see that I'm going everywhere through the track as I'm trying to find the gap to go around the inside. We're going to try to thread the needle down the inside we go off the freeze. I'm trying to do everything to overtake and not lose that much time with this guy. That was a little bit anticlimactic to make that move on our old teammate in the second half of the first season, and we're going to press on and we're getting closer to Gasly. We're going to make a huge dive bomb, and they all moved on the braking once again like Ricciardo. What is happening with these guys today? I almost lost a bit on my front wing once again. We're going to watch the replay to see how much Gasly moved in the way. You can see that it turned out of nowhere onto the left. I don't know if he wanted to make a move on the McLaren Golf, but that was really weird. 2 times in this race that someone moved on the brake when I was trying to overtake, but thankfully I did have enough reflexes to keep my front wing intact. We're going to do the same on Carlos Sainz, and thankfully this time he doesn't move on the braking, and that's us up into P16. So that braking zone at the hairpin is a very strong point for us, and you can see that we made 2 beautiful dive bombs, and you can see that now we have some squabbling because Antonio Giovinazzi is in the way of this train, and he's being under threat from Max Verstappen, and you can see one of McLaren's leaving the pits is Esteban Ocon. Well, down inside we go now of Max Verstappen and Esteban Ocon. Once again, we made a double overtake on the snail session, so we're making very good moves. What could have been if we didn't crash with Ricciardo? I think it would be a very solid result. The podium would be really hard because the Monster Mercedes and George Russell are in the league of their own today, which is kind of depressing for me because I want to be up there in the championship fight, but it's not going to be the day today, as now we are getting closer to Charles Leclerc, which is losing time thanks to the third tier of Antonio Giovinazzi. Remember, these guys are on the hard, so for the time being I think we are faster, but sooner rather than later these mediums are going to start to wear out and fade away, and the tables are going to turn in this Grand Prix. And remember that we still need to make another stop. At the end of this Grand Prix we're going to be absolute rocket ships with a set of softs, so hopefully we can salvage something. Maybe we can score points. At the moment I don't know if I can score points because I'm at the moment in P10 and I'm going to lose 20-ish seconds in the pit lane. But anyway, we're going to try to overtake Charles Leclerc nonetheless, just for glory. Rich Mix overtake mode is going to try to overtake Antonio Giovinazzi as well. He's going to have DRS, he's going to pull into the right hand side of the track. I think he's going to be a free abreast, not anymore because Gio is dispatched, so we're going to now manage Leclerc by sending one down inside. Went a little bit deep, and that is going to allow the Monegas to come back, but they actually have a pretty decent traction. That is pretty impressive to see because these tires already have some laps, and that's us up into 8th place, make that 7th place as one of the Haas. I think it was Kevin Magnussen and one of the Aston Martins are pulling into the pits, but you can see that Valtteri Bottas still in 2nd place. Russell is keeping him honest, and Hamilton is getting away with this one. You can see that Bottas visually is already outside of the 1 second window. So we'll see if George is going to snatch P2, and about us, he's going to be really hard to score points. So it's been a very depressing afternoon for us, but never say never in Formula 1. On lap 21 I'm going to pit and dress a brand new set of soft tires. That is going to be a second and last stop of the afternoon, so hopefully we can score some points. But you can see that we already pulled into the pits and we're already outside of the points, already in P12, so there's no way that in normal conditions we're not going to score points in this race. So the options that we would have to score points would be a miraculous safety car, which would really come in handy because we would be just behind these guys on the softer comparative tyre, or maybe we could have some rain at the end of the Grand Prix, which is not going to happen, so we're going to scrap that away and wait for a safety car. So we're going to leave the pits, and we are with the set of soft. So this kind of mean that we might get the fastest lap just for glory. We're not going to get that extra point because we are outside of the top 10. We're just ahead of Lando Norris, which is kind of depressing to say. I'm saying depression so many times in this episode, and you can see why. So, and you can see that we're behind Sergio Perez in the Aston Martin, which are mega slow in this season. Let's not judge, you know, in the general view, because this is just the second race of the season. Maybe after 4 or 5 races we're going to have a clear vision of what we can have. But down inside we go of Sergio Perez. That was really easy. We are on the soft comparative tyres. On the harder comparative tyre we have almost the fastest car of the field. It is still the Monster Mercedes, and that's us into P15 as we're going purple on the first sector, and with that we set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. But unfortunately we are outside of the top 10, so that is not going to make anything for us. But this is the guys that are ahead of us. This is the Porsche of Pierre Gasly, so confirmation that that 2-stop wasn't the best option for this Grand Prix, and he is outside of the points as well. Down inside he goes of Lance Stroll, the other Aston Martin, and he's going to be no points for the Porsche. The only Porsche to score points today is going to be Daniel Kvyat, which I believe is on the top 5 paying positions. But anyway, one more guy to overtake. I'm trying maybe to overtake Gasly just for glory, but these soft tires are starting to fade away a little bit because they wear out pretty quickly. Around this track is the high tire wear circuit, and now I'm going to try to go around the outside of Lance Stroll. Similar move like we did on the freeze on the medium comparative tires. Down inside we go, and this time we don't have to lose that much time because no one is going to pit. You could see that we had some yellow flags. It's because one of the Williams PlayStation cars retired, but unfortunately that's not going to mean a safety car as we're going through the final corner to start the final lap of the Grand Prix. It's been a terrible Sunday for us, but anyway, it is what it is. I was talking about that Kvyat was in 5th place. I think he might be under threat from Max Verstappen. Down inside goes the Red Bull on the Porsche. This is the final couple of turns of the Grand Prix. Will Kvyat be able to secure P5 for Porsche? He's been struggling a lot in Season 2. Hopefully this can be a start of a good performance in this season, but Kvyat only just manages to finish in 5th place. What about the front runners? It was Lewis Hamilton to win the Grand Prix, and unfortunately I can tell you already that George couldn't overtake Valtteri Bottas. So once again another 1-2 for Monster Mercedes, but hopefully sooner rather than later we can start to challenge the silver hour, which wasn't the case today. It was going to be no points for us. Please just get me out of here.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Ferme.
So, another fantastic victory for the Silver Arrows. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today, and the results speak for themselves.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
And there you have it, confirmation results. Hamilton 2-2 wins once again, 25 precious points to his championship tally, followed by Valtteri Bottas, which got the fastest lap, and then George Russell in the final step of the podium. Kvyat actually got P4, so apologies to that, and then Verstappen, Leclerc, Ocon, Albon, Sainz and Vettel closing the top 10. Then we have Matsushita, Ricciardo, Gasly, and then myself after a dreadful race, after that stupid contact with Ricciardo, which it was 100% his fault. And then in the championship standings, 12 points ahead of Valtteri Bottas, and George Russell in the 3rd place, 25 points behind. Then us, we are down into P7 after a dreadful race, but this is just early days in the season. Definitely there are better things to come, I assure you that, because we have the car for that. It was that unfortunate incident, that my struggles in qualifying. If I qualified better, I wouldn't be in that situation, so kinda is my fault, I can say. But anyway, constructor standings, we are saying 2nd place, 51 points behind Monster Mercedes, so we need to start to pick up the pace if we want to overtake Mercedes in the constructor standings. And we have Aston Martin still without scoring any points, which is pretty shocking to see. But guys, that has been episode 40 of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode. I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to smash the like button, scratch if new tip, and more Formula 1 content really motivates me to make more. Make sure to join the family. We're going to have an absolute bang of a time. Weekly F1 content in this channel. But that has been me for today. I'll see you guys for brand new video next time. The next episode is going to be the Dutch Grand Prix, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But that has been me for today once again. My name is Tom, and I'll see you guys for brand new video next time. But for now, take care.